Jackson. Marquez Chris hasn't turned into the guy that they thought he would. But this is a terrible basketball team in Phoenix. On the flip side, in San Antonio, for a long time, the NBA Twitterati got very mad at me for just postulating maybe have we slightly, just a bit, just a tiny bit, overstated the impact Kawhi Leonard makes. Well, in Kawhi Leonard's absence, the Spurs win at about the same rate as they do when he's out there. So, I mean, to be up 50 in an NBA game without your best player.
Right. But they can't beat Golden State and the top teams without it.
Agreed.
Even though the system is a Popovich system, yes, he's going to win. But for them to be a world champ, they have to have Kawhi and have him healthy.
That I totally agree with, 100%.
Hey, the Pistons beat the Nets 115-106.
Did we just go to some jazz speakeasy or something? The music changed.
Did it? Well, you know, we want to shake it up. They're 5-0 since trading for Blake Griffin. Blake finished with 25 points, while teammate Andre Drummond had 17 points and 27 rebounds. Nick, are the Pistons back?
Man, they are now just, percentage points out of the playoffs. They are 0 games back. They are essentially tied with Philadelphia for the final spot in the playoffs. Blake Griffin's playing outstanding basketball, as I thought he would if he were able to stay healthy. And Andre Drummond, 27 rebounds. I mean, that's nothing. That's the season high in the NBA this year.
Right.
This is a team that if you are the Raptors or the Celtics, as the 1 or the 2 seed, man, you don't want to play this team in the first round.
No.
Not assuming that they have the health they have right now.
Or what if they even go up and they end up playing the Cavs in the first round?
Well, the Cavs had no problem with it, but the teams like Raptors,
the Cavs don't have no big men.
and they don't have no shooters.
Okay, this is the Detroit. Detroit has resurrected their season, Jenna. Let me not get on the Cavs because Nick and his he's always got to be a protector of his Cavs and the Brooklyn
You brought
pick.
them up.
They have drastically improved their hopes. They will be in the playoffs. This is what we need to watch, though. Watch their guard play. If their guard play continues to be above par, this is a good basketball team because the Big Ben situation, we thought the rebounding would be hurt by having Blake there. Obviously, it's not been hurt for Drummond.
Good news for producer Deontay.
Yeah.
Finally, the Cavs picked up a much...
producer?
Yeah.
That sounds a little kind of...
High?
Yeah, for him.
Oh, I didn't know you were going to say higher up.
What's something down below that?
I don't know.
Well, let me demote him on national TV.
Oh, Deontay.
No, I can't do that.
Cavs picked up a much-needed win last night. They beat the T-Wolves 140-138 in overtime. LeBron had 37-10 and 15 to hit the game winner. Here he is after the game.
But it was a great win for us. We needed this after that tough loss last night in Orlando. Our fans were unbelievable. Our guys stuck with it even though they were shooting the heck out of the ball. Man, they shot 58% from the field and we were still able to get a win. But when we play Cavaliers basketball tonight, that's all we can ask.
What's the difference between LeBron basketball and Cavaliers basketball?
I don't know. Well, history has shown when LeBron's not there, they're not playing no basketball.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So when LeBron is there, which I believe for another 30 games and the playoffs, that's the only time he's going to be in Cleveland. I mean, it's a big win for them. They hear all the noise. They're in that locker room. They know they're not playing. And there's no more January excuse. We're into the month of February. Now, this hangover that they had, that they normally have in January, it began to bleed into February. But they got to improve defensively. Just marginally improved last night. Last night they made shots. And LeBron played a marvelous all-around game. And when they had to, he scored the basketball, passed the basketball, rebounded the basketball, got the only block of the game late in overtime to be able to seal the win. I mean, people made shots, though. And that's part of being around LeBron James. You got to make shots. He's not going to take over and score 60, 50 like Kobe or Michael. He's going to make the right basketball play. And if guys don't make shots, he's not able to get the momentum to have these types of games that we're so used to him having.
I'm just glad that this game, that it ended the way it did, because in regulation, he had a 3 to tie the game, but then had a shot to win the game and missed it. And if they would have ended up losing the game and he had missed a buzzer beater in regulation, we know what the same old story is going to be. LeBron at the end of games, the clutch, even though all the data says it's nonsense. He leads the NBA in clutch points, leads the NBA in clutch field goal percentage. Even though you mentioned the Kobe and Michael has a better game-winning field goal percentage than either of those guys. But that got attached to him early, and he's been unable to shake it like some parasite. So last night, the game tying layup in overtime, the game saving block, and then the game winning jump shot after JR had not realized in the moment they had a timeout left, because after the block, J.R. could have called timeout immediately. They have 3 seconds and the ball at half court. He takes a couple dribbles and they can't advance the ball. They have to do what they did. Jeff Green made a great pass. They make the winning play. It was, though, a reminder to the Cavs, I would hope, to the front office on trade deadline day, of the player they do have on their team that I agree with Chris, they're only going to have on their team for the rest of this regular season and that playoff run, and why you wouldn't do everything you can to improve that basketball team while you have this guy. It's beyond me. It's as illogical of a team decision as I've seen in my life in sports. If they do not make a significant effort to make the team better today, which is their last real chance to do it, and what will likely be LeBron's last season there.
And they've got a tough stretch coming up, starting with 3 in a row.
Yep.
So.
And when they play Boston, Mannix's team is going to be on later.
Sunday.
Boston on
Yep.
Sunday, national TV, 3:30.
3:30 p.m. We'll be at Cece's house, or Nick's, or mine, or Pepper's. Moving on to OKC on Tuesday, Paul George played lights out against the Warriors, scoring 38 points in a Thunder win. Now, despite being long rumored to be heading to the Lakers next season, George seems to be enjoying playing in OKC. He says, quote, "I'm happy here. I'm happy with this group." Nick, is there any reason George would leave Oklahoma City?
I mean, I can't think of it at this point. And I'm glad he is in Oklahoma City and fully healthy after a few years ago when he had broken the leg. Took him really a year to get better from that, because now that he is back playing relevant basketball games on a relevant team, we are reminded what a great player this guy is. And if he leaves there to go to Los Angeles, he will once again return to where he was the last couple years in Indiana, which is a really good player on a team that doesn't matter. And I like watching Paul George in high leverage situations. I like watching one of the best offensive and defensive players in the league play in these marquee, nationally televised high leverage games. Like, I hope he does stay. He and Russ, this is the type of duo that before we saw what Golden State did with Durant, we were used to Russ and KD. Now Russ and Paul George, LeBron and Wade, Steph and Clay, the two stars on one team with some good players around them. See how far we can go. I like watching that type of basketball. I like watching Paul George on a really good team. So I don't know why he would leave. I hope he doesn't leave to go to the Lakers, who to me are years away from being a relevant basketball team.
Paul George is starting to find out what a lot of people have and what people were surprised about Kevin Durant. OKC is a franchise. They treat their players as good as any franchise. Where they play is a home arena. They still have one of the best home records, and they're still trying to figure each other out. This is not the best Carmelo Anthony, so they really only have two stars. The thing that I liked the most about his comments were maybe it will change people's perception of Russ. The people don't want to play with him. So seeing another superstar strive in Paul George, because he is a phenomenal basketball player. He's got length. He can shoot. He's got a mid-range games. He can play above the rim. He leads the NBA in assists. Like, what he adds to a team. I heard an interview there on national TV the other day, and he told Billy Donovan, and I've never heard a superstar tell a coach this, that he didn't need him to run any plays for him, that he could get his offense off the flow of the game and off of other people. Be concerned about the other players and run plays for them. That's something that I had never heard. And when you start to see and hear things like that, those are the kind of players you want to build a franchise around. Those are the kind of players that deserve a supermax contract. Because if you have the cornerstone of Russ and Paul George, you'd be surprised at other free agents. If that market out there, free agency, is not what players thought it would be. Man, I'll take a little less money because I got a real chance to win in the West. You don't have to just go to Golden State or San Antonio. You can join them and be a part of something that's really, really special.
And the other reason I'm so excited and glad Paul George is having a great year, arguably the best year of his career. I mean, he's shooting an absurd 43% from three. He's averaging a career high in steals. He's having his most efficient offensive season, is because Paul George this year, his production was going to be something of a referendum on Russ. Because we saw KD leave, and a lot of people blamed Russ for that. We then saw the team last year revolve exclusively around Russ, and there was some thought, hey, that's the way you have to work when you have this guy.
It made him look selfish.
It made him look
the
selfish.
Triple doubles, tying Oscar Robertson's record,
Breaking it.
Yes, it made him look selfish because people were like, well, they were still holding KD leaving against him.
And then, at the beginning of this year, when you saw Victor Oladipo, who was on the team, go somewhere else and thrive, and you saw this team struggling, a lot of this was falling on Russell's head. And a lot of people were saying, see, Russ he's a stat stuffer, but the way he plays is a non-winning brand of basketball. And now seeing he and Paul George work well together, seeing the team play well together, I'm happy with that because I love watching Russ, and I just like Russ as a player.
And it's how both of their stocks and both of their brands, I think, being able to play well with each other like this. But do you think his decision is going to come down to how far the Thunder goes? How deep the Thunder goes into the playoffs?
I think his overall experience is what he's going to judge it on. And I believe he's having a good experience. I believe it will only get better in the competitive situations in the playoffs. No, because if he goes to the Lakers, like, what's he going there for?
Home.
Well, okay, but they're not going to win.
No,
I mean,
but
that would be the one reason.
That's the only reason.
The reason would be to go home.
That's why he would go.
I think the winning part in the competitive situations are far more important than being at home. You can be home half the year compared to being at a loser the whole time around, and I believe that weighs on players.
I hope that's the case with Paul George. Listen, if he can do wherever he wants. I really hope, as a basketball fan, he stays in Oklahoma City. I want to see how far this team can go, and Sam Presti's a hell of a general manager.